Hello, hello. So today's topic is bounce back motivation. I had an experience about almost 20 years ago that was a blessing that I was present, and I'm glad I got to witness it because it serves me throughout the years. It's a reminder. About almost 20 years ago, I worked in a private girls' school I was hired as a volleyball coach. And most of us coaches stayed on for the other sports seasons, filling in where we could. But we mostly all had a primary sport. One particular year, I filled in for track, and I had seventh and eighth graders. And I did run track as a youngster, but I ran hurdles, so we practiced hurdles religiously. Anyway, there was a kid on my team who was incredibly fragile. They cried a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. They were always on the verge of tears. And I can't remember if they were 13 or 12, but very fragile. Then I learned their story. The family was away on a vacation for a weekend and came home to find another family member had, while they were away and alone in the home. And this had a negative impact, as you can imagine, on all of them, making them all very fragile, very fragile. So, our first and only track meet came up, and all of my girls were going to run hurdles, and she was going to be the very last person to run because she was very fragile, very slow to learn, just struggled in every way possible. So her heat was finally up. And I was like, just take your time, do what you can, that's okay. The starter goes off, and the girls run towards the first hurdle, and my girl trips and falls right at the hurdle onto the ground, and she hit it really hard. And I ran hurdles, so I know how that felt. And she just looked up, and her face was just filled with tears. She was bawling. So, of course, I started to run towards her. This little girl put her hand up, and she said, "Stop, no." And so I stopped. And she got up, crying her eyes out. And she ran over the next hurdle. She tripped. She didn't go all the way down, but she tripped. And then she ran over the next one. And she ran to the next one. And the next one. There's 10 hurdles in a race, right? By this time, the race is completely over, and she's so at the end of the race. But everybody was cheering her on. Her teammates and I were running alongside, just screaming her name and so supportive. Her face was drenched in tears, but she did it. She went from the beginning to the end, and I will never forget that experience. But here's where it got interesting. I got called into a meeting. Shortly after that experience, and it was a lot of angry parents and the athletic director and the headmistress, because it was a private girls' school. They were so angry with me. How could you let that child be so humiliated in public? Why would you do that? Why would you force her to do that? Just very, very angry people. And it was so interesting because at that moment, I just saw everyone. I saw their anger. I saw their faces. I saw them. I didn't have a comeback or anything. I just let them all yell at me, and they did. It was a lot of people in that room. And eventually the headmistress said, "Miss Green, you have anything you want to add?" And I told them. And the mom sat across from me on this side. And I told him I never experienced anything like that before in my life. I saw a person who had been broken by something so tragic, and yet picked her own little body up in her own broken space, and she got up and she made herself go over every single hurdle. It didn't matter to her that she was absolutely last. It didn't matter to her that everybody was finished. She made up her own mind to do that. And it's interesting because the room got very quiet. And I think the people there, the parents, brought me in to yell at me to protect the mother. But as I sat across from her and She sat over there. She just mouthed. And I told him, I said, I felt like it was the biggest blessing in my life that I'd ever received. And she became the teacher. She became the leader. She showed us all how to do it afraid, how to do it broken, how to do it absolutely last, how to do it in your space at your time the best way you can, how to peel yourself up, how to absolutely insist on moving into your power. That adolescent child was the greatest teacher in my life about bouncing back. Bouncing back is not going to be easy. It's a heck of a journey, and sometimes the journey is incredibly public, like this child was. And yet she did it. Nobody told her to. She made up her mind. And we got to witness something so miraculous. This was, if I'm thinking about my age exactly, I'm almost 58, and I was about 42 when that happened. And to this day, that lesson still resonates with me. And now I give it to you. Where you are, in the space that you are, rise as best as you can. If it hurts, if it's hard, use what you have to rise through it. You can ask for help, and sometimes help rushes in like me and wants to do it for you. It's time for you to know when you can do it with help running alongside, and you can take the training wheels off and absolutely move in the power that you have. That was the greatest experience I'd ever had. And to this day, I still see it, I still feel it. And in that room full of angry people, I wasn't angry. I understood what they were doing. I wasn't angry. I had been transformed, and I was very happy to share it with them. And it was interesting because in my memory, it felt that my sharing the story transformed maybe them or some of them too. Bouncing back. Do what you can do. And I hope that you have running alongside of you a community that's encouraging you and supporting you. I hope that you have it, or you find it, or it's there. You got this? All right. That's all. Okay.